On October 17, there's a full moon in Aries. This full moon makes a square to Mars and a square to Pluto. One of these aspects is the key to your success. Which one is it? That's what we're going to talk about. Hi everyone, I'm Donna Stellhorn, your practical astrologer, and today we are talking about the full moon. It's on October 17. It's at 24 degrees of Aries. We're going to do a short overview and then we're going to go sign by sign. So here's the chart, and this is a zero Aries chart, and that's the type of chart I use for general predictions. So let me tell you the story about this chart. You're at a party. Of course you are, because it's the full moon. And at this party, a little ways off, there's a couple standing there. They are represented by the sextile between Venus and Pluto at critical degrees. And this couple has what you want. They have just the epitome of the best relationship, or they drive the best car, or they have some aspect that you really, really want. Now you feel what you want is out of reach because this full moon makes an inconjunct to that Venus. But this full moon also makes a square to Mars and a square to Pluto. Now the square to Mars is going to feel easier, and that's to get angry, to kick up a fuss, and maybe take some action. But that's not necessarily the best solution. You see, between the square to Mars and the square to Pluto, Mars is more tempting because Mars is in Cancer, and Cancer is ruled by the moon, and the moon is in Aries, which is ruled by Mars, so they're in what we call mutual reception. So it's quite easy to slide into this kind of feeling of frustration and anger and maybe taking some action. But there's also the square to Pluto. The square to Pluto indicates that the best route to take is to figure out what's stopping you from having this in the first place. And that is to go within, clear out the gunk that is stopping you from meeting new people or making the sales calls or having what you want. So when you see this couple that has everything that you want, or anybody out there in the world that has something that you want and you haven't figured out how to get it yet, it is time to look within and look at your fears. And it's going to be something small. With Pluto, it's quite remarkable. It is a small thing that when you make that change, it reverberates throughout your life and makes ultimately a very large transformation happen. So with the square to Mars, you may be trying to break down an obstacle by throwing rocks at it, and eventually that's going to make a dent in the wall and make the wall integrity less stable, and then one day the wall collapses. Or you do the square to Pluto, which is to dig deep inside of yourself to figure out why that wall is there in the first place. And when you find what that is, the wall just disappears. And if you want some help doing this, I do readings. There is a link to my readings in the description. While you're on my website, there is also a little form you can fill out to get my free newsletter. That newsletter covers the astrological events for each month, and so check that out. Okay, let's go sign by sign. Okay, Aries, this is your full moon, and that means that you are halfway through your lunar year. So you are now going to enter 3 months of harvest time. During this time, it is very important that you capitalize on all of the things that you've been working on over the last 6 months. And so all the skills you've developed, the contacts you've developed, all of these things can help you bring in that big harvest. Now, to deal with the obstacle in front of you, you need to deal with Pluto, and that means letting go of dead weight. And in this particular case, the dead weight may be around your career, your reputation, your social standing. And so that could mean that maybe your job is really holding you back and you need to start looking for something else. Or there's some aspect of your job that is holding you back and you need to talk to your supervisor about getting a better position. Or this could mean that you have content that you're going to put out in the world, but you're hesitating. Or that you need to shift your reputation out in the world by shifting the content that you're putting out. Pluto may also be representing a deep fear that you have that others may judge you. And then you can clear this out as you work with the Pluto so that you don't get so nervous about other people and what they're going to say, especially strangers, people you don't know. It's whatever their opinion is, that's their opinion. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the sun's making a square to Mars, the full moon's in a relationship house. This is some of the best energy you've had for meeting somebody new that you've had in a long time. I mean, basically, you're in a harvest time now. So this is a time to start going out there in the world and collecting together all of the favors that friends have been telling you, that they're going to fix you up with someone or introduce you to a new club or a new way of meeting somebody. So this is your opportunity to meet someone new for a love relationship. Now, if you're in an existing love relationship, the energy is even better. Mars is making a trine to Venus, and so there is more harmony and more ability to come together for a shared goal than usual. So you have very good energy. Now, this full moon could bring a few things to light, but with this good energy, you can work them out and you can come to some harmonious resolution. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Venus, which is part of that energy of looking outside of yourself and saying, there are the things that I want, and I feel frustrated that I can't get them. And so the energy now is very much about using that Pluto square or even the Mars square to take action and to clear out the blocks that you have towards getting what you want. Now, it's really interesting here because, you know, this is a full moon, so there is much more of an emphasis on needs, and wants feel out of reach. However, when you start taking action, you will find that it's much easier to get the things that you want and still fulfill your needs. So this would be direct action towards a goal, but also stopping and asking yourself, why am I procrastinating? What is my fear? What is my hesitation? And clearing that out. And you can clear things out through, you know, hypnosis, tapping, journaling, prayer, meditation. There's many ways to clear out that gunk. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the energy is quite good. This is that sextile between Venus and Pluto. They are at critical degrees, however, so there is some urgency, some need for you to take action, but as you do, then you can get some rewards. So a sextile energy is quite easy to work with. You take the step and then it happens. Now, when it comes to money from your job, so that would be like a paycheck, Venus is making an opposition to Uranus. And so to get what you want, in this particular case, you have to do some sort of compromise, and so do they. So you have to meet in the middle to make something happen. Otherwise, you're just on either side of the seesaw and you're not coming together. So, and this can be some energy where you feel a little bit torn and you have two directions you could go, maybe to stay in this job and try to negotiate, maybe to leave the job. So you may feel like you're pulled in two directions for this. So because there is an aspect, you can work it out, but first you have to work it out within yourself of what it is that you want, and then you can start to let others know. Okay, Taurus, this full moon gives you opportunities to let go of issues you have around education, what you know, your credentials. And so this may mean that you are deciding to go back to school or deciding that school is unnecessary, maybe taking an accelerated program so you can get a certificate, or deciding that the certificate's not necessary, and doing some self-study and, you know, not worrying about particular, you know, what you're going to put in a frame. And that doesn't mean that, you know, going for a certificate is wrong. If the diploma is something that is in your heart and what you desire, now it's time to find what obstacles are stopping you from doing that. On the other hand, you know, self-study is something that can start right away and move at your own pace, and you can make great progress with the tools that are out there available these days. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, there's an out-of-sign semi-sextile between Mercury and Venus. So you can meet someone in a place that you don't expect to meet someone. Or you could meet someone who is unexpected in some way themselves. So maybe they're not your type, or you're just surprised because you didn't know they felt that way about you, or something like that. So there's some energy here. It's it is still good relationship energy. Both these planets are in a relationship house for you, but there is a little bit of a surprise factor to it. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Venus is making a sextile to Pluto. They are both at critical degrees. And so there is something that you can come together and work out in a very harmonious way. However, it's necessary that you do it. If you don't work on this, it could fester. It could be some thorn in your side that then it gets worse and worse over time. So this is something where you really do want to kind of nip it in the bud and take care of this issue, and that way, and you can come to a harmonious conclusion, and that way there is not something that is much bigger or worse down the road. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Mercury. That doesn't make a lot of good aspects in this chart. Does make a few aspects, but they're difficult aspects, and that means that the hard stuff that people have to do normally in business or normally when it comes to their investments, that's the stuff that you're working on now. That you have to take on the challenge, which maybe that it's coming down to the decision. Maybe the research part is done. Maybe this is just down to signing the contract or committing in some way. So there is still, because this Mercury is in a house of connections and partnerships, there's still an opportunity for you to partner with someone who could then, with their superior knowledge, guide you. But it is also just necessary that you push forward and find some way to come to a decision about a financial matter, and that's what's going to help you then make more money. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Mercury is making a sesquiquadrate to Jupiter. Now, Jupiter is still in Gemini, and so they have that hidden connection, and that helps the sesquiquadrate. But a sesquiquadrate is something where you can win, but it actually ends up being more work for you, and maybe there is some rewards in the process, but still it is like you get more business, but now you're busier than ever, and it's hard to get everything done. Or you get more business, and that means that it's time to hire some people, but hiring people is difficult. So it's rewards that come with some further obligations or responsibilities. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that's a paycheck, there is not an aspect between Mercury and Neptune, and in general, the energy is difficult. So it is more likely that you're going to find that either you get a no, or you get a let's just wait and talk about it at the end of the year, or you are maybe thinking about making a transition into a new job and you haven't quite got to the point yet where you're asking for the money. So this is a time where trying to push for a raise or some sort of increase in your job would be difficult. Okay, Gemini, this full moon is bringing you opportunities if you are willing to work on and let go of issues around power and control. And so this could mean that you are potentially in a power struggle and you're, digging in and they're digging in and you're kind of at an impasse. This may be about how like when you invest or when you're saving money where it feels like things are out of your control. The markets, of course, are not in anybody's control. And that there's so much information and knowledge and things that maybe you don't know. And so you may feel like it's just so hard to take action because you want to control the outcome, but that's impossible. And so, of course, this boils down to what is in your control and what is out of your control, and how do you be peaceful with dealing with things that are out of your control. And this can be done, because we do things in our daily life all the time where we are not in control of the things, like driving on the freeway or going to a restaurant, and we didn't cook the food, we didn't grow the food, etc. So we do these things, and we trust that there are enough rules in society to keep things working. And so sometimes that has to then go over into investments or business or things like that, or even just close relationships, which is also this energy that you're doing, is just trusting that the other person who's made a promise to you is going to keep that promise, and you can continue to trust them until there's evidence that you shouldn't. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury's making an out-of-sign semi-sextile to Venus, which means that you could meet somebody for a love relationship, but it will be a surprise. It will be like someone that you would not have considered before, or you meet them in a really odd place, or you are fixed up with someone and you don't want to go, but then you accidentally, meet them, I don't know, it's at the convenience store. Like something happens where the two of you come together in an unexpected way. That's how you can meet someone. It's less self-directed and more just being out there in the world and saying yes to things you may not normally have said yes to. Then when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is making a sesquiquadrate to Jupiter. And that energy is about you can have the good stuff, but you must have the responsibilities that go with that. And so that is that, yeah, your relationship could be really good, but there's going to be some boring parts. There's going to be some parts where it's unequal, where you're doing more of the chores or you're bringing home more money or something like that. And you are doing those things, the harder things, because that does lead to the better opportunities or better relationship. And so it's getting past that, trying to make it fair or always pleasant or trying to do that all the time, but to allow it to, sometimes swing out of balance and then allowing it to come back into balance when that's the time. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from the moon, which is making a square to Mars and a square to Pluto. And that means that you are pulled in two different directions, that you have to make some choices about what actions you're going to take. Now, there is two types of actions here. One is a very external action, that is knocking on doors, making phone calls, or connecting with people. And the other is an internal action of eliminating limiting beliefs, get rid of fears and doubts, or letting go of pain from the past, so that you can feel like you can do new connections and new ventures. So you're right now, because you are in the center of these two squares, you can go either way. Over this next 2 weeks, you can go back and forth and do some cold calling and some inner work, or you can find some way to balance, do a week of each. But you've got two routes to money. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, you're making about the same as usual. I think you're mostly planting seeds for the future. There's no aspect between Moon and Saturn, and of course these will line up in the future, but right now it's, people may buy your stuff, but they're not paying you within the 2 weeks, or people are promising that they're going to come and book a consultation, but they haven't quite done it yet. Your investments may not be in a place where they are rising or falling, so there's not much to do with those. So the energy is that you're kind of in a holding pattern when it comes to profits. That doesn't mean that you couldn't do a lot of work. It just means that the profits come outside this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, and so that would be a paycheck, it's an entirely different story. The full moon is there. The moon's making a square to Mars. This is one of your best times for activating this energy, and that would mean asking for a raise, changing jobs to make more money, getting more perks, changing commission percentages, taking on a new project so that you can be in line for a promotion. You could make a lot of progress over this next 2 weeks. Okay, Cancer, this full moon is focused on relationships and how you feel about yourself. And so there is a great deal of energy here for clearing out past relationships, past hurts, letting go of people who are not beneficial in your life, letting go of people who are sucking up all your energy or pulling you off your path. And so this is, and it's very much about a letting go versus just going out and collecting more people or trying to fix those relationships. This is more about you walking away and seeing if they will shift their behavior to come after you and try to make amends. So this is a time for you to do something that you hardly ever do, and that is to take care of yourself over other people. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's making a square to Pluto. So there is an opportunity here for you to meet someone for a love relationship. And this could be quite a compelling relationship. The two of you could have one of those movie moments where you lock eyes and you just know they're the one. And this could be on one side or the other. You know, they might feel it about you and then start chasing you. And so you want to be out there meeting new people because this is some pretty intense energy. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, it's an entirely different story. The moon is not making an aspect with Saturn. And so this is not necessarily a time to be working on deep problems. When I talked in the beginning part about looking at relationships, look at all the other relationships in your life, the business relationships and the friendships. But when it comes to your existing love relationship, you're not doing the aspect to resolve problems right now, but you could observe, and becoming that objective observer could help you discover a lot of things about your partner that you didn't know, that then you can process and deal with outside this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from the sun, which is making the square to Pluto and the square to Mars. Now, the square to Mars says, I'm going to do everything myself, and the square to Pluto says, I need help from others. And so because you're pulled in these two directions, it's probably good to go back and forth and explore both of those. And so in making money, maybe you're thinking, okay, I can build my own website and I can do my own advertising. Or you might be thinking, all right, I can do my own advertising, but I don't know if I can build the website. And so therefore I need somebody else. And so it's actually taking action in both of these directions, toggling back and forth between these energies. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the sun's making an inconjunct with Uranus. Now, an inconjunct means that as you put something out and you check the ROI on it, it's going to come up very low, and yet more business happens. It's because when you put something out into the universe, such as advertising or promotion or even just a meditation, that reverberates out into the universe, but it doesn't necessarily mean that the person you are reaching out to is the one that comes in for the sale. It means that it's going to come in from some other source. So this is where sometimes business clashes with spiritual ideas, because from a spiritual idea, you put that drop of energy into the universe, and it reverberates out there. I was trying to come up with another word besides reverberate, but the rings go out there, and it basically calls many people, not just the people you were targeting. And so then the energy can come in, basically the customers and the money can come in from an unexpected source. That doesn't mean they're not connected. You just won't be able to see that connection easily. Now, when it comes to money from career, so that would be like a paycheck, the sun's making a semi-sextile to Venus, and that means you could get a little bit. You can get a tiny bit. You probably get some perks. You might get a bonus, but it's small. You may get a gift card or something like that. And it also means if you're changing jobs, you can get a little bit more. You can, whatever you've asked for, you can ask for just a little bit more, an extra perk or something like that. Semi-sextiles are not the strongest of aspects, so you put it out there and you see if you get something back. Okay, Leo, this full moon brings opportunities when you focus on letting go of habits and routines that are holding you back. And so maybe this is something like not getting up on time, or going to bed too late, or eating things that are not giving you fuel but are actually draining your energy. Or this could be habits towards negative thinking, or habits of hanging out in places where you're not getting anything that you really want to do done, that you are just filled with distractions. Well, you're not filled with distractions, the world's filled with distractions, but you're putting yourself in a high distraction environment. And one of the things you can do is really try to automate some good habits. James Clear has a great book, Atomic Habits. I'm sure you've heard of it. I'll put a link in the description. But it's about taking habits that you want to do and associate it with something that's pleasurable, or find a way to automate it or make it easy, and then you can adopt the habit. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the sun's making a trine to Jupiter. So there is some really good energy for meeting somebody new. This is a good time to get out into the world, to ask friends to fix you up, to try a dating service, go to one of those speed dating meetings if they still have those. So doing those types of things are all ways to meet somebody, and you could really meet someone during this time for a love relationship. Now, when it comes to your existing love relationship, the sun's making it inconjunct with Uranus. That means that the two of you, whatever the point of contention is, you have completely different points of view on this. That you have different priorities, or you are even using the same words, but you have different meaning for those words. And until you start to find some common ground, it's going to be hard to solve the problem. So one of the things to do is just make a switch. And whatever it is that they've said, you just say, well, okay, I'll try it. And hopefully they'll do the same for you. And when you do that, then you can start to see, oh, we were looking at this from such different perspectives. And that's why we were having this trouble. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Mercury, which makes not very good aspects in this chart. In fact, it really only makes one very clear, very easy to use aspect, and that's that square to Pluto. And that means that it is imperative that you now find the tiny block that is holding you back, and you clear that out. In other words, it looks like you've got everything ready to go. You're, whatever, like the car is ready to join the race, but there, for some reason, you're just hesitating getting behind the wheel and getting going. And this is more of a psychological problem. This is more of a belief in yourself problem, or some small part of you is just hesitating. And in that hesitation, you're finding a lot of other things to do. And so you may not even realize that you're hesitating. So the car is ready to go. You're the driver. You know how to do this. You just have to find why you're not getting into the car. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, you're making about the same as usual. Mercury is not making an aspect with Neptune. There is some energy in money houses that's positive, and some that says there's more outgo, probably for equipment, or maybe this like taxes or investments or things like that. So there's money going out. It's going out for important things, but it's right now about the same as usual is coming in. And this is just you plodding along, staying in business, finding ways to, test and try new things. But right now, the results of those things are coming outside the 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money from career, so that would be a paycheck, Mercury, as I said before, is only making that square to Pluto. And so it's necessary for you to kind of put yourself in your boss's shoes and think to yourself, if I was coming to my boss for a raise, very honestly, how would I feel? Would I feel that they're doing a good job? Would I feel that my budget's tight and I couldn't give you more money? Or I've got my own boss breathing down my neck? Think in those terms, and that can help you discover what that small thing is, that point of contention that you're boss is going to say is the reason they're not giving you the raise. And they may say something like, oh, we don't give raises this time of year. And then maybe that square to Pluto is you saying to yourself, all right, then maybe I have to work somewhere else. So it's more, though, it's going to be something small. It's going to be something that is deep inside that is the obstacle to this. And once you find it, you can clear it out, and then it's smooth sailing. Okay, Virgo, the opportunities from this full moon are connected to one of two things, and one of them could be letting go of a creative project. And then there's two ways you could do that. One, you could let go of the project by saying, this is a creative project that is not going to work, and I'm just going to move on. And that is, you package it all up and you donate it, or you let it go in some way and say, it just didn't work, I'm going to let this go. And then that frees up a bunch of time for you to do something else. Or you let it go by letting it go into the world, and you say, okay, it's not the perfection that I wanted, and maybe it's not even done, but I'm going to start showing people, I'm going to start promoting it, I'm going to try it out. And so you let go of it that way. Now, the other thing this could be is something related to your kids. And it could be their creative projects, but basically your children are your creative project. They are something you have created in the world. And so this could be that you are caught up in their drama, or that what they're doing is more of a distraction for you because it keeps you from growing in your own way. You're so focused on them. And sometimes circumstances say that it's necessary to do that, but right now it's saying that there is something that you could let go about that. Maybe they need to be more on their own. Maybe all of this energy that you're putting into it, they're not even noticing. And so some of that needs to be put back towards yourself. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is not making an aspect with Saturn, but Saturn is in a relationship house. So there is some relationship energy here. It's probable that where you're looking or how you're looking is not quite right. And so it's time to make some adjustments. Either if you're doing online dating, maybe you need to go out into the world a little bit more, or vice versa. Maybe you need to do a little bit of online dating or engage a matchmaker or something like that. Right now, over this 2-week period, it's not going to yield a lot of results, even if you make a change. But making a change does kind of get things going towards something else that could manifest over the new moon. So this energy will shift pretty quickly. But right now, this is more about looking within and perhaps trying some new things, but don't get discouraged if these don't bring results, because without a strong aspect, it is hard to meet new people during this time. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, it's kind of the same story. There is no aspect going on between Mercury and Neptune, but Neptune's in a relationship house. So there is some energy for a relationship, but the two of you seem to be just kind of going along as usual. It's difficult to work out a problem. It's more that you're just kind of biding your time for an opportunity, which of course, in astrology terms, that's an aspect. When an aspect forms, then you will be able to work out whatever the issue is. But right now, this is more that you're doing your stuff, they're doing their stuff, and so you're just moving along forward in that manner. Now, when it comes to your money, you're pulling money from Venus, which is at a critical degree, making this great sextile to Pluto. And that means that it is time. It is time to launch this. It's time to tell the world about this. Even if you just told a few people. And the Pluto sextile is helping you get past some of the fears that you have around this. This is the time to move forward. Please don't wait any longer. And that means post something, announce something, talk about it, that you have to get it started. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is making a trine to Mars. This is very happy energy. It's likely you will make more money over the next 2 weeks if you take any action at all. If you take zero action, you will make a little tiny bit more than usual, but if you take a lot of action, you could make a lot more than usual. So this is a great opportunity. This type of energy lines up a couple of times a year, so you want to take advantage of it because it's not that common. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, it's a bit of a different story because the Venus is making an inconjunct with the moon, which means that it's not even on the radar of your boss. If this is something you're thinking about a lot, they're not thinking about it at all. And so you would have to find some way to get them on board with that. And so this may mean that you need to start looking around at something else. You may want to ask yourself why they are not considering that for you. Maybe it's something to do with what you're doing. It's probably something to do with how the company is doing. Looking at how the company is doing in general would be very helpful right now. If the company has a crumbling foundation, you definitely want to know about that and move on before it starts to affect the whole. So right now, that inconjunct is going to give you information, but it may not give you a raise. Okay, Libra. A lot of the opportunities that could come during this 2-week period are based on letting go of past hurts, difficulties with family trauma, issues that you had in childhood. And as you let go of those things, including limiting beliefs, then you can make great progress in your life. So this is about being focused more on what's holding you back rather than trying to put a bunch of things out into the world for your success. So in other words, this is where leverage comes in. By removing some sort of limiting belief that you have, you can move a mountain versus trying to push the mountain over yourself. This includes family patterns. So, with the idea that, you come in with a very unique chart and then you come into a family. And so to me, that chart is nature. And then the family pattern is nurture. And so there's no reason for you to just do the family patterns. You also have your own chart that can give you different ways of doing things entirely. So finding family patterns and letting them go, negative family patterns, of course, and letting those go can be really beneficial at this time. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Venus is making an opposition to Uranus. And so the energy is interesting. It's almost like you're meeting more than one person, that you are torn between two people, trying to decide which one you want to go out with. Now, the other would be the being torn between being in a relationship and being single and free. And that also, those are two states of being. They're quite different. You can't do them at the same time. And they both have a lot of perks. So being single has a lot of benefits. Being in a relationship has a lot of benefits. And so there is energy for getting into a love relationship, but you are torn between the benefits of maybe not being in a love relationship or the benefits of two different people. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, the energy is very positive. Venus is making a trine to Mars. The full moon is in that house. The energy is blossoming. Blossoming. Yeah. Boy, it sounded terrible for a minute there. So this blossoming energy indicates that you could take something that is starting to get better and make it much, much better. And that's probably through communication or just loving each other or treating each other with love and kindness, etc. So there's really some positive energy for your love relationship where it blossoms or not. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Pluto and from Mars, which are sitting in opposition of each other and both squaring that full moon. And they represent two different ways of doing things. One is the Mars way, and that is to aggressively move forward, to take massive action. And the other is the Pluto way, is to sit back and work on the inner you, removing your demons, your fears, your hesitations, and making yourself the stronger warrior that way. Both of these ways are good. You know, sometimes we default to the easier one, and certainly in this chart, we would default to the easier one, which is the Mars, which is just going out and taking a lot of action, basically throwing a lot of rocks at an obstacle, versus doing the Pluto, which is about finding why you built the obstacle there, and once you remove that, the obstacle just disappears. So this is basically what's going on with your money. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Venus is making a sextile to Pluto. They're at critical degrees, and this means that there is some actions that you need to take. These are actions that are clear, you know what to do, and they're going to bring you extra money. And so that's, it's time to go do those things. It's because it's at a critical degree, it means that these are time-sensitive things that you need to get done. It also does mean that there may be some need to let go of something to have the money happen. And so that might mean selling securities or selling a business or getting something where perhaps you're letting go of a client because they are taking up all your time and energy and they're not as profitable. So there may be some aspect here of letting go that actually brings you more profits. And then when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, the Sun is making a square to Pluto. And so this is the time to ask, you may get some pushback. A square is about a fight. It is about an argument. It is about two people going head to head about something, and there's going to be a winner. So if you want the raise, you go in, you fight for the raise, you may get it. You may not get it, but it is the fight that is necessary, because those fights can make you stronger for the future. So you go in, of course, heavily armed with your reasons they should give you a raise, your past history, your achievements, etc. They're going to come back with their stuff, and you know what they're going to say, like, my boss says you can't have one, or this is not the right time, or in this company we do it this way. And be ready for these arguments, have a plan of attack, and then you could be successful. Okay, Scorpio, this full moon is bringing you opportunities, but it's going to require that you find what you believe versus what other people believe. And this means that as you are consuming content, as you are listening to other people, the podcasts, the instructional videos, all of these things, the books, etc., you are getting other people's ideas, and that is great, but you also need to leave space so that you can discern what are the good ideas and what is the fluff that you should let go of. And so this is a time where you need to give yourself the pauses between those things that you're taking in so that you can decide what's valuable and what's not. If you get overwhelmed by information, if there's so many choices or so many things going on in the world, this can create the anxiety or stress, and then you miss these opportunities. It's almost like you need to do a little bit of intermittent fasting for information. Like, if you just continuously eat, you will eat till you explode, but what's necessary is to eat and then digest, and then eat and then digest. And so that's what this is indicating. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, you have that sextile between Neptune and Pluto. And, that's the one I always talk about. But, of course, you have co-rulers for these houses, and that would be Mars and Jupiter. And so the sextile between Pluto and Neptune, Pluto being at a critical degree, does say that there is some time-sensitive energy here. And that is to let go of something from the past, and then you can welcome new love. So you might be still holding on emotionally or even physically to a past relationship, and it's time to let go of that so that you can move forward. Now, the Mars-Jupiter energy is a semi-sextile, and so that is that there is this sort of small irritation that just holds you back. One of the big principles of feng shui is to eliminate that sort of semi-sextile energy, that small little inconvenience that holds you back from better opportunities and better habits. And so that's why when you go into the grocery store, the feng shui energy is that the thing they want you to buy is at eye level. The things that, the healthy food is usually the highest shelf, and then the cheapest food is usually the lowest shelf. And so those are a little bit more difficult to get, just tiny bit more difficult. And so that's how we do it in feng shui is, if we shift things so it's just a little bit easier to do the healthy, good thing, then we're more inclined to do that. Well, this semi-sextile for love relationships says if you can find a way to easily get, yourself in front of new people, if you could find some way to automate it, because right now there is some sort of small irritation that interrupts the process of you meeting new people. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, you have good energy. However, it's Venus sextile Pluto, and they are at critical degrees. So there is something that you have this opportunity to work out in a very harmonious way. You're both ready to talk about it. Just one of you needs to initiate it, and then the conversation can happen. And maybe it's about whether to expand the family, or how money is going, or what to do with parents, or things like that. But a decision could be made now, and you have this window of opportunity to discuss it in this harmonious way. So try and grab that. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Jupiter, which is making a lovely trine to the sun and a very nice sextile to the moon. And so there is some real opportunities here. And it may just be about shifting your schedule so you have time to go for these opportunities. It's possible that you are so busy doing everyday things where that full moon is sitting that you are not having the time to actually pursue some of the financial opportunities. So you just have to shift your schedule, because this is some really good energy. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Jupiter's making a sesquiquadrate to Mercury. The sesquiquadrate energy says that you can gain more, but it comes with some sort of responsibility or obligations. And so that is that you can gain a client and then they pay in advance and yay, you have money, but now you got to do the work. It's the same with investments. As you maybe diversify your portfolio, yay, that's good, because now you have a more balanced portfolio if the market goes up or down. But now you have more aspects of it to watch. Or even as you invest more, you may have different brokerage accounts, so you have to monitor multiple statements, or you have different types of securities, so you have to look at different things. So basically, there's a win with a little bit extra work involved. Now, when it comes to money from your career, of course, you have the same sort of energy, but this time it's around you can get the raise, but it probably is going to come with more work or responsibilities. You may be put in charge of a project or given more parts of a project to do. If you're changing jobs, there's the learning curve for the new job, but making more money in your job is quite possible during this time if you're willing to accept those obligations. Okay, Sagittarius, you have lots of opportunities if you are willing to look at issues that you have around money. And that is around saving money, budgeting money, money itself. Does money feel like the root of all evil? Are you very unhappy that, such inequality exists in the world? Do you feel unhappy about what you're getting right now? Are you spending too much? Are you not saving? Or are you feeling like, well, I need this sort of lifestyle, but I don't make enough? And so the the energies around basically attitudes about money, or the basic psychology that you have about money. That's where if you can tweak some of those, you could make huge gains and headway. Of course, the inclination will be to go do that Mars, which would be to take lots of action towards this. But that action may not be sustainable without doing these more psychological inner work. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the full moon is lighting up this house, but Mars is only making a semi-sextile to Jupiter. So the energy is more about that if you can get out of the house, you could meet someone. If you could say yes to the date, you could make a great connection. Like, there's something here that's just, there's a little like pebble in the road, it's a tiny hurdle. It's like a curb, but it's so funny, like how, if we're focused on a hurdle, we can clear the hurdle, but those curbs, we can get distracted and those can trip us up, so the energy here is there's a small, tiny obstacle. If you can get past that, you could meet someone new for a love relationship. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is making a sesquiquadrate to Jupiter. This energy indicates that the two of you could get along better if both of you would be willing to take on a little bit more work and responsibility. That is, and of course, this is your chart, so you have to do this part first. But that is that, you maybe do a little bit more of the chores, or you contribute more financially, or you acquiesce a few more times on whatever it is that they're saying. Like, you give, and then hopefully you get them to give, and that's what makes this relationship better. A sesquiquadrate's not that easy in energy, and so remember, this is just for 2 weeks, so this energy will line up better in the future, but right now this says that to gain something, you have to do the work. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Saturn, and Saturn is only making one single aspect in this chart, and that is a semi-square to Pluto. And Pluto is at a critical degree, and it's all this that we've been talking about looking at your inner life and saying, all right, what are the things that are holding me back? A semi-square is energy that is, it's like doing something where there's a lot of friction. It's doing something you really don't want to do. It's like asking a teenager to take out the trash. It's the worst possible thing. It's like dragging a metal box across a metal floor. It's just so hard. And that doesn't mean you can't do it, but your inclination will be, I don't want to do this. It doesn't feel practical. It doesn't feel fun. I just don't want to do it. And so that energy it's there. It's available to you. If you do a little bit of it, if you drag that metal box across the metal floor, it's going to feel awful. But boy, you could clear something out that changes everything. So this is something it's worthwhile doing, but it's difficult. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, Saturn's not making an aspect with the moon, and so you're making about the same as usual. To increase this, you have to go back to that Saturn, talk to Pluto. Pluto's in a money house, Mars is in a money house. So there are some possibilities here. However, it's to make more, you've got to do this extra work. And it may not feel fair. It's a semi-square. It's not going to feel fair. It's not even going to feel unreasonable because of how hard you've been working. But that's what this chart is saying. And when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, the one thing that's in your favor here is the full moon. The sun from the full moon is in that house, and so that's a plus. Mars and Pluto are also in money houses, so that's a plus. However, there's no aspect between Venus and Saturn, and so it's almost like if you bring it up, they would be like, what? We hadn't even considering this. It's like starting from scratch. This energy is going to line up better outside this 2-week period. So my recommendation would be just to wait and work on the inner stuff that is holding you back, those issues around money that are deeper, limiting beliefs from childhood, limiting beliefs you've picked up along the way, and clear those out. That's going to make the bigger difference in the long run. Okay, Capricorn, these full moon opportunities come to you when you do the Pluto energy, which is about believing in yourself, about going within to find out what you can do to increase your confidence, so that you will take those leadership opportunities. Now, you could, of course, do the Mars, and that is to go bang on a lot of doors and say, I want to do this, I want to work with you, I want to connect with you. But it's better to do the Pluto and find your strength by releasing what no longer serves you, what those parts of you that are just dead, that you don't need anymore, the old you, to get rid of that. This is also energy about not waiting for someone else to choose you, not waiting to be picked, but to choose yourself. And so if you at that point are knocking on a door that is not opening, is to just go choose another door. That's where the idea of persistence is, to be persistent on knocking on doors, not a single door. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Saturn's not making an aspect with Venus. Now, the Mars and the Pluto are activating relationship houses. So in the process of working on yourself, you may find that someone finally calls you up and says, let's go out, or they are attracted to you naturally. But you going out and looking is not as productive right now during this 2-week period because of the lack of aspect. And when it comes to existing love relationships, there's no aspect between the moon and Saturn. So everything is just going along as it has been. Now, that said, because the moon is involved and doing these squares, there may be some point of contention, but it's going to be difficult to work it out this time. And so the best thing to do is try to be a united front. If that point of contention is outside of the relationship, try to agree with your partner to say this, we will discuss our tactics later, but right now I support what you're doing. That can help. If this is a point of contention between the two of you, it is tough to work it out during this 2-week period. So maybe going to your separate corners and just kind of, resting and saying, we're not going to fight about this now. Just put it off, because you will do better aspects for working things out in the future. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Saturn, which is not doing much in this chart at all. But you also pull money from Uranus, and actually that's the primary planet that you pull money from. And Uranus is part of a treasure chest in this chart. And that is that Uranus is making a trine to Saturn, an opposition to Venus, and a sextile to Mars. And the other planets, they are doing the same. And so therefore, they are forming this rectangle with oppositions in the center. That is a treasure chest. Treasure chests are nice to have, but they're hard to open. So this treasure chest has an opposition to Venus, and then the trine to Pluto, sextile to Mars. So again, it's back to clearing out the old so that you can open this treasure chest and find the riches that you're looking for. So there is opportunities towards the Mars. The easiest route, though, is to weed out the parts of you that no longer serve you, to get rid of those so you can purify yourself to that point of that you are focused on what it is that you want and not bogged down by past hurts, past disappointments, or limiting beliefs. Now, when it comes to money from business or from investments, the sun's making an inconjunct with Uranus. So the opportunities that are there, they may feel outside of your comfort zone, or what can happen with an inconjunct is that you put out some sort of advertising or material or something, and it sends a ripple in the universe, but you don't, and you do get something back because there's an aspect, but it doesn't come directly from the thing you did. So if you're looking at the ROI is zero, because you put out an ad, you got zero response from that ad, but you made more business, more money in general because you sent out something to the universe and that had a ripple effect. And so it's one of those things where from a spiritual standpoint, we can see it working all the time. You place an ad and then somebody, out of the blue calls you, they never saw the ad. And that, that works. It really does. But when it comes down to, statistics and spreadsheets, the ROI isn't there, and that could cause you to give up on the ad when it actually was working. Now, when it comes to money derived from career, so that would be a paycheck, Uranus is making trine to Pluto, and that is really good energy. You have really exceptional energy now for getting more money from your job. You also could get a new job. You could go back to a previous job and make more money. So you have some really good opportunities. The connection to the Venus is a part of the treasure chest, and it's in that house. So this is a time to start talking to your supervisor about getting a raise. Okay, Aquarius, the opportunities from this full moon come to you when you let go of your escapes, your those rewards that you give yourself that you know are not good for you, the watching too much TV, playing too many video games, eating too much junk food, stuff like that, drinking or smoking or something. Those sort of things, when you let go or at least curtail those things, that's when opportunities come to you. So this is, helping you find what is causing you to run to these things that you know are not good for you. What is it that you're not facing? This is where you're activating that Pluto versus the Mars, where you're just trying to steel yourself and trying to do new habits and you keep slipping back into the old habits. This is to uncover why that bad habit is happening in the first place. And so that's what you could clear. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, Mercury is not making an aspect with Uranus. So that means that it's kind of like two ships passing in the night. You're not really making the connection this time. And, sometimes that's okay because you have other things to work on. So it's just that right now, if you've set this as a priority, it's really good to put it on the back burner. That is, if you have a date planned, maybe you want to put it off till outside this 2-week period. Or you may actually have the date, but think, it was a bit of a dud because the aspect's just not there to make the connection. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, you're doing, the Sun is making an inconjunct to Uranus. The two of you are coming together, but you are kind of, you're talking different languages right now. There is something where you need to work it out, but you're coming from such a different place that you're not seeing the other person's point of view. It is kind of like an inconjunct, kind of like you want to have dessert, they want to go snorkeling. There's no way these two things can mix. They're just different worlds. And so in an inconjunct, the only thing you can really do is one of you has to compromise, give up what they want to go do what the other person wants. And because this is your chart, you have to do the compromising. So that means no dessert, that you're going to go snorkeling instead. So, and that's how the two of you can come together. Remember, this is only for 2 weeks. And so the compromise then could shift to something where maybe the two of you are both talking about food or both talking about aquatic activities. But right now, you're in different worlds. Now, when it comes to your money, you pull money from Jupiter, which is making some aspects here, but also Neptune, which is part of a grand trine. That Neptune makes a trine to Venus, which we've talked about a lot, and a trine to Mars, which is doing a square to this full moon. So this means that you're going to be much more inclined to do the Mars side of that Pluto-Mars opposition. And that means that you're going to be taking a lot of action that could bring some very positive results. While I will say that, working on letting go of some of those bad habits and things, still extremely beneficial. It makes sense that when it comes to specifically to your money, that you are taking the action to put good processes and systems in place to, have orders come in automatically, to have your portfolio rebalance automatically, to have funds go into the right buckets automatically. Like that sort of thing can really help. And that's what this grand trine is about. Now, when it comes to money from business and from investments, Mercury's not making an aspect to Neptune, at least not yet. So there is going to be some energy that connects in the future, but right now you're making about the same as usual. Now, I think that there is some additional publicity that you could be getting for your business, or there is some, some security that you own that it is getting more publicity, and that's giving it a boost. So we do see it, but somehow the profits are not coming quite to you, or to you quite just yet. Sentence order, it's so challenging. But this means that profits that are coming are just going to come outside this 2-week period. Now, when it comes to money from career, so that would be a paycheck, Jupiter is making a square to Neptune. Neptune's in a money house. Jupiter is in that area of taking chances, taking risks. So there is some possibilities here of getting a raise. Jupiter is retrograde now, and so it's getting thinner and thinner, this orb between these two planets. So you're going to go through a period of several months where you're not making an aspect. So this is a good time to do this now, to ask for a raise. You're going to get another chance, actually weeks and weeks of chances next year. So, but this may be about, and I didn't do the math, but this is probably the last aspect you're going to be doing for several months. So if this is something you want to get done this year, then consider at least starting that process. Okay, Pisces, this full moon brings you opportunities when you are willing to let go of the people, the organizations, and those connections that are not helping, and not in line with your goals. Those things that are draining you of energy, that are not bringing you something. And that might be the friends, the old friends who they haven't grown, they haven't changed, but you've changed so much. Or the organization that's kind of lost its way, but you're still the treasurer, so you have a lot of work to do. Letting go of something like that could be very helpful. This is also about looking at your hopes and wishes, your goals for the future, and seeing what's really stopping you from those things. And it may be that you have to let go of a goal because it just doesn't seem to be compelling enough for you, motivating enough for you to get you moving towards that. And so looking through that, to let go of a big goal like that, yeah, it's hard, but it also frees up a ton of time, emotional time, or emotional energy and mental energy, so you can do other things. So sometimes letting go of something is what either tells you that you really did want that thing and you need to go get it back, and that's a useful bit of information, or it frees up time so you can really concentrate on something else. Now, when it comes to love relationships, specifically new love, the moon's making a semi-sextile to Neptune. So there is some opportunity here, but it's a little out of your normal path, or it's like you meet the person in an odd place, you never go to this part of town and you meet them there, or you meet them at the laundromat or something, it's just an odd place, or they are someone that you hadn't considered dating and you're going to try it. It's just, maybe there's a difference politically or socially, or they're from another country or something. There's something that's a little bit different, and that's what is, it may have been an obstacle in the past, and now you think, why not? I'll try it. Now, when it comes to existing love relationships, Mercury is making no aspect to Neptune. I built that up as though there was an aspect. I was trying to remember. There's no aspect between Mercury and Neptune, and this indicates that the relationship is just going on as usual. So that, that if you're generally happy, you continue to be generally happy. If there has been some stress, there continues to be that level of stress. It's challenging to work out things because it's even worse than an inconjunct, because from that standpoint, because there's no common ground. There's no way to reach some sort of consensus. However, and for the most part, and for most couples, it's just that, you're doing your life, they're doing their life, and you're just moving along and the week is busy, and so you don't really have time to work on the relationship, and that's okay. And it's 2 weeks, not 1 week. Now, when it comes to your money, there is some major stuff going on. You pull money from Mars, which of course is part of the squares to this full moon, but your ruler, Neptune, makes a trine to Mars, and they both make a trine to Venus. That's a grand trine. So you have some big opportunities here. Now, the first thing is you're going to feel quite a lot of compulsion to do the Mars rather than the Pluto, because even though in the opening we said, doing Pluto is going to be a little bit more beneficial, most people are going to be inclined to do the Mars. And in your case, it's going to be being creative, taking risks, doing what is fun to make more money. Now, all of those things can make money. And especially because you're doing this grand trine, which is extremely beneficial energy. Once you get a grand trine going through some action, it's just like one positive thing after the next just happens automatically. So it's kind of like a tire on a car, and now you're rolling downhill. You don't need the gas, you don't need anything. There's just momentum. So that's always good. But do remember to do some of the Pluto during this month to let go of, those inner parts of you that are holding you back, those things that are connecting you to maybe people who are naysayers or always depressed or always criticizing something. Let go of those people so that you can then go do more of this Mars and activate that grand trine. So then when it comes to money from business and money from investments, it could be a very good 2 weeks. Mars is making that trine to Venus, again, part of that grand trine. So you could have record sales, you might make record profits. There could be a big whale that you land of a client. There could be more clients coming in. So this could be a very lucrative time. Now, when it comes to money from your career, it is a different story. By the way, that's like a paycheck. And the different story is that there is no aspect between Mars and Saturn. So Saturn is in your own sign of Pisces, and it's been there for, I guess, about a year. It's still got at least a year to go. And Saturn there is about getting serious about your life, taking responsibility, finding the harder thing to do. It's kind of like being a mountain climber and saying, okay, now I'm going to climb the mountain. And that's good, and that's lasting for about 2.5 years in total. And you're working on that. So you're taking more responsibility than you did before Saturn went into Pisces. You are stronger, you're getting better at these things. But right now, during this 2-week period, there's not a connection for getting a raise. And that means that it would be wise just to hold back, not ask. If somebody brings it up, certainly set the appointment, but try to set it outside this 2-week period. And then Mars will line up with this energy in the future. So you will have some more times where this is going to be easier, but right now it's just not showing up as being that easy to do or viable. And that's it. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please subscribe if you haven't subscribed. And if you're interested in learning more about your chart, there's a link in the description to my consultations. When you have set the appointment, I will send you a questionnaire asking what your questions are, getting your birth information. The consultation is by Zoom. We get to talk in person. You get a recording of the conversation with the charts. So it's a video recording, so you see the charts. And I just can't wait to meet you. So please check that out if you're interested, and I will see you in the next video. Okay, Saturn. Okay, Saturn. Nobody wants to be Saturn.